Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate that. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, all kinds of YouTube content, all kinds of horror content, so many different things you could be watching. And so I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch my video today. And again, for those of you who have subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. Your support means so very much to me. The channel's really starting to grow, and I'm super excited about it. So for all of those of you who have subscribed, who have uh, helped me by sharing links and reposting stuff on social media. Thank you all so very, very much. I really do appreciate it. Today, we have a fun one to talk about today. I'm looking forward to talking about this movie. I had not seen this in, gosh, a really long time until watching it last night to get ready to record this episode. Today, we are going to be talking about the original It from 1990, the television miniseries, as it was. Um, yeah, and again, I had not seen this in forever. I do remember watching this when it first came out. One of the things that we'll get into here in a little bit is, my dad watched horror, but my mom was not really a big fan. But my mom actually watched this miniseries primarily because of the cast, and like I said, we'll get into to that here more in just a little bit. But yeah, I saw it. Um, Gosh, in 1990, I was 18. I saw it way back then. I've seen it probably a couple of times since then, but it's been a really, really long time. And so I sat down, I watched it last night. It is streaming. I believe it's on Max. Now, I have it on Blu ray, which, I really was shocked. I figured this original It would be available on 4K. I've had a hard time finding it. If it is out there, I'm not locating it. So, if any of you that watch and are listening to this, if you know if this movie is available on 4K, let me know and let me know where because I would definitely like to upgrade and have this one on 4K. I just haven't been able to find it. So, yeah, that's a whole nother topic. We'll move on. But before I get into the actual movie, though, from time to time, I do like to try to show some of the collectibles and things like that that I have, especially if they go with the movie that I'm talking about. And this one that I want to show you today is one of my favorites in my collection. I've seen so many things with the newer version of Pennywise, but anytime I find something with this original Pennywise, I think it's super cool. And a friend of mine actually, we were at it was like a comic book store, but they also had a lot of horror stuff and that kind of thing in there. And we were in there just looking around, just kind of went in there to browse and came across this. And this friend wanted to purchase it for me as a gift. So I was, super excited about it. But it is this NECA Ultimate Pennywise figure from the original It movie. And I think it is so very, very cool. I'll show you the front and back of the box first. Again, I think this one was so cool. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites in my collection. But there we go. Yeah, I absolutely love this figure. I mean, I'll get the one from the newer It movie as well, but yeah, I really like this one. So very, very cool. So yeah, one of my favorite things in my collection. So I definitely wanted to show that today. All right, let's get ready to start talking about It, and we'll start, of course, with a brief overview. This is from Rotten Tomatoes. If you haven't seen this movie, again, I believe it's streaming on Max, where you can watch it there if you have a subscription to Max. I highly recommend checking this one out at least once. Yes, it's a little long, but I still think, despite this runtime, which we'll get into in a moment as well, um, I think the pacing is still pretty good. I mean, yes, it's a long movie. It was a miniseries, but I still think it goes by pretty quickly. To be completely honest with you, um, so yeah, the overview for It from 1990. In 1960, seven preteen outcasts fight an evil demon that poses as a child killing clown. 30 years later, they reunite to stop the demon once and for all when it returns to their hometown. Very brief overview of it. Again, I'm sure most people know what the film's about anyway, but let's get into some of the facts and information about the movie, and then we'll get into the actual plot and go through it a little bit. It was released November 18th of 1990 on ABC as a two-part television miniseries, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, based on, of course, the Stephen King book It, produced by Mark Bassino, Alan S. Epstein, and Jim Green. Cinematography done by Richard Lederman, edited by David Blankstead and Robert F. Shugru. Music done by Richard Bellis. Production companies: Lorimar Television, Dawnfield Entertainment, the Konisberg and Sinitsky Company, and the Green and Epstein Productions. Runtime 192 minutes. A budget of $12 million. Obviously, since it was a TV thing, no box office numbers. Rotten Tomatoes score 67% from critics, 64% from the audience, and the IMDb score is 6.8 out of 10. To be completely honest, I'm a little surprised that those scores are as low as they are. I felt like this film was much more of a classic and much more beloved, I guess, than I realized, but it is what it is. Quickly, the critics' consensus as well from Rotten Tomatoes website. Though hampered by an uneven second half, it supplies a wealth of funhouse thrills and an unforgettable performance by Tim Curry as Pennywise. 100% agree with that as far as Tim Curry's performance. And let's talk about the cast here a little bit. Tim Curry is Pennywise. We have there's a large cast in this movie. I'm just going to go over the primary stars of the film. Richard Thomas as Bill, Annette O'Toole as Beverly, John Ritter as Ben, Harry Anderson as Richie, Dennis Christopher as Eddie, Tim Reed as Mike, Richard Masura as Stanley, Jonathan Brandis as a young Bill, Emily Perkins as a young Beverly, Brandon Crane as a young Ben, Seth Green as a young Richie, Adam Farizel as a young Eddie, Marlon Taylor as a young Mike, Ben Heller as a young Stanley, and then I had completely forgotten, and even though she's not one of the main stars, I just want to mention her anyway. Olivia Hussey is in this film. She plays Bill's wife, and she does have a much bigger part to play in the second half, towards the end of the films especially. A few facts about the movie. It was filmed over a 3-month period in Vancouver. It was ABC's biggest success of 1990. Again, the director, Tommy Lee Wallace, stated that he was initially very intimidated by the all-star cast, but that they were all very generous and supportive, and that the child actors were a much bigger challenge for him. Choosing well-known actors with little to no experience in horror was done intentionally to draw more viewers, and that's kind of something that I wanted to touch on here real quick and talk about this cast a little bit. So, I mentioned that my mom was not really a horror fan, but she even watched this miniseries, and the reason she watched it was because of the cast. And I even knew so many of these actors, but again, as stated, not from horror. They weren't big horror stars. You look at Richard Thomas. When I was a small kid, my mom used to watch The Waltons, and I believe he played John Boy on The Waltons. John Ritter. I was a huge John Ritter fan growing up, from things like Three's Company and things like that. And my mom loved John Ritter. Harry Anderson from Night Court. Yeah, just Tim Reed. I remember being in some comedies. Just, so familiar with so many of these actors, but not seeing them in this kind of film, I really do think brought in a bigger audience. Again, because my mom typically did not watch horror. Once in a while, she would try with my dad, but it just wasn't her thing. But she watched this, I remember, specifically because of the cast, and didn't mind it too much. There were a few things here and there that she didn't like, but the cast drew her in it. And again, they did that intentionally, and I'm sure that my mom wasn't the only one it worked on. I'm sure that worked for a lot of people. So. And I really think, too, before we move on, I think everyone does an exceptionally good job in this film. I think the child actors all do great. These adult actors are fantastic in their role. And Tim Curry as Pennywise is just absolutely amazing. There are certain roles that I've talked about it before. I know other people have talked about it. Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger, right? And they tried to have someone else play Freddy in that Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and it's just not the same. Not to say anything negative about Bill Skarsgård's performance in the It remake, because I actually think he did a good job. But going back and watching this film now, it's just like, yeah, this is my Pennywise. Tim Curry is just absolutely amazing as Pennywise in this film. I think he is so unbelievable. Such an incredible performance. Makes such an unforgettable character. And watching this now, I'll go back and watch, like I said, the other It movies again, and I'll probably talk about them at some point on my channel. But it's just it's hard for me to even believe that anyone else did it. It's just that good a performance by Tim Curry as Pennywise in this movie. And yeah, for me, this is as I said, this is my Pennywise. But yeah, moving on. Speaking of Tim Curry, it took Curry 3 hours each day to get out of his makeup and his costume. His performance unnerved cast and crew so much that they avoided him on set whenever possible. Curry also wanted the children to uh, try to stay in character and be able to really display the fear. And so even when they would come around him, he would be showing the pointed teeth that he had in and chain smoking, just to try to continue to make them feel uneasy so that would show up in the filming. Um, yeah, whether that was a good tactic or not, I'm not sure, but I get it. George Romero was originally signed on to direct this film, but due to scheduling conflicts and the length of this project, he had to drop out. One other thing I want to mention, this got talked about, I heard from a lot of people when that It remake came out a few years ago. Um, in the book, there is a Losers Club orgy scene, right? That was cut from this film as well and not put in here, which I think is a good decision. But actress Annette O'Toole, who again played the adult Beverly, um, she disliked the removal of that from the film. She stated that she felt like um, that this was the greatest attachment that these kids all had to one another, and that Beverly thought that they were all going to die, and this was a gift that she was giving each one of the kids. Um, I, I like Annette O'Toole. I don't have anything against her whatsoever. But again, I just don't feel like that scene. I don't feel like it would have gone over well in 1990. I really don't think it would go over well in today's time. And to just state that this orgy was the greatest thing that this girl could do for these boys just sounds really really creepy to me. So um, I don't think I agree with Miss O'Toole's opinion on that. But I mean, again, they did cut it, so we don't have to worry about that, right? Let's start to walk through this a little bit. This plot is a little bit hard to walk through because there's a lot of there's a lot of cuts back to past, right? There's a lot of cutting back and forth from current time to past time in this film. And, I'm one of these people that sometimes, if there's too much of that, it takes me out of the movie a little bit. But it really didn't bother me in this film at all. And I feel like it's done so well that I almost feel like it's needed. I feel like it really helps, to be honest with you, with the pacing of this being as long as it is. And it helps to continue to spark an interest and to get us deeper into each one of these characters. The film opens with a little girl who's playing in the rain, and she's got a tricycle there, and she ends up coming across Pennywise. And initially, he looks like this fun, happy clown, but then we see kind of an evil look start to come on his face. And then the mom comes outside to get the little girl, and suddenly she's gone, and just her tricycle is turned over. And then, even though we don't see it, we get the impression that the mom sees the body. She screams, and the next thing we know, we now cut to, there's police there, there's an ambulance, they're loading up this body, and we meet a character named Mike who's talking to the police about this death. And Mike seems very concerned about what has happened here. And then Mike ends up coming across an old photo of a missing kid that turns out to be Georgie, from someone that Mike was familiar with from his past. And so we then kind of get some cuts to Mike thinking back. And so over the next, really, gosh, I don't know, I started to say half of the film even, and it may go into it even more now that I think about it. But throughout this movie, we then get cuts of seeing each one of our main characters here. Bill, Eddie, Ben, Beverly, Richie, Stan, and Mike. seeing them as children, seeing what they went through, seeing some of the ways that Pennywise tormented them, but then also seeing them now as adults. Mike ends up, after this scene there, ends up calling Bill and informs Bill that Pennywise is back. And we find out through, again, flashbacks that these kids made a pact that if Pennywise ever returned, they feel like they had defeated Pennywise. They weren't certain, but they felt like they had. And so they had made a pact that if Pennywise ever returned, that they would all come back as well to finish him off. And so Mike basically then goes through calling each one of these characters. Mike apparently is the only one that has stayed around Derry, where this all took place. The rest of them have all left. And Mike has stayed there and kind of kept an eye on things. And so now we get him calling each one of our other characters that were part of this group and informing them that Pennywise is back. And we get glimpses as he calls each one of some of the things that these kids went through, whether it was being bullied by Henry Bowers and his gang to specific encounters they had with Pennywise as children. Bill goes through this thing, and we do get to see it then where his brother Georgie was out playing in the rain and ends up being, has this toy boat that Bill had made him. He's following along as it's flowing through the water in the street. It ends up going down a drain, and then of course we get the classic scene of Pennywise there and tricking Georgie and taking Georgie. Um, and we see Bill having those memories of those kind of things and what happened. Ben, one of the other kids, we learned that not only was he being bullied by this Henry Bowers and his gang, but that Ben's father had also been gone. And there was a moment where he feels like he sees his dad, and it turns out to be Pennywise. Beverly, we realize that she came from, again, not only issues with Pennywise, but also had a very abusive father. And there's a point where she sees her dad or thinks she sees her dad. It turns out to be Pennywise. Richie, there's a scene where the kids are all at a movie theater and they're watching a werewolf movie, and then later Richie believes he sees he has an issue with a janitor, I believe it is, there at the school. And this janitor turns into a werewolf, which then turns out to just be Pennywise. So we kind of get these glimpses of what each one of them dealt with as kids, and what they went through from the torment from Pennywise, as well as being bullied by this Henry Bowers and his gang, and to where they are now and what each one of them are doing, and having to you start to learn that the longer they've been away from Derry, the more they begin to forget what happened. But as each one of them hears from Mike, it all starts coming back to them, and that's where we get some of these flashbacks. I'll stop right there just to say that I think this is all done so incredibly well. We get great performances again from the adult actors, from the child actors. And really, that's a lot of what the first half of this film is about, which, again, I remember watching the miniseries. This is basically the first night, right? And in the remake, it's basically part one. But I just think the performances are done so well. I think the film is shot very well. I think everything looks very good. Again, the Pennywise character looks fantastic, and Mr. Curry's performance is absolutely amazing. Watching this again last night, sorry, my dog sidetracked me. Watching this again last night, I was thoroughly enjoying it from the get-go. I was just absolutely loving what I was seeing in this movie. A lot of nostalgia to seeing it when I was younger and where a lot of these actors are concerned. But again, at the same time, just absolutely loving everything that I was seeing going on here. And then, of course, we do get to finally these groups. Henry Bowers, his gang, ends up calling them the Losers Club. They also call themselves the Lucky Seven, but they kind of adapt some of these names, and they end up going into the sewers to confront Pennywise so that no more children get killed. While they're there, Henry Bowers and his gang have also come in because the the Lucky Seven finally stood up to them, and so now he wants revenge on them. But while in the sewers, Pennywise ends up killing two members of Henry Bauer's gang, and then scares Henry so bad that his hair turns white, and he ends up basically going into shock. And we learn later that he was institutionalized. But um, the kids use, as they're confronting Pennywise, they start to realize that just like Pennywise gets at them through their imaginations, they can also use their imaginations to fight him. And so they kind of work together. Eddie, who is asthmatic, uses his inhaler and says it's battery acid. That ends up wounding Pennywise. Beverly uses a slingshot and ends up able to injure him. And Pennywise takes off. And again, uh, part of the gang seems to think they've defeated him. Bill doesn't really think so. I think it's more wishful thinking from those that think they have. But Pennywise does seem to be gone. And so that's when the group then makes this pact that if he ever comes back, they will return as well. And again, I think all of this, it still looks so good. Some of the attacks from Pennywise, just everything about this. It looks good. Score is good. Cinematography is good. The performances are absolutely amazing. Um, and to be honest with you, for the longest time, even up until a few years ago, I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I mean, I'm 53 years old. Up until a few years ago, I had a horrible fear of clowns. That was one of my biggest fears, was clowns. And I think it all started with this movie, to be completely honest with you. Pennywise terrified me. Now I still see where it's an amazing performance. It still is a little bit scary. I don't have the fear of clowns that I used to, but it's still a little bit scary, and it's creepy, and it's just, again, I can't say enough how much of an amazing performance it is by Tim Curry. Um, we then get into the second half of the film, which would have been part two of the miniseries back in the day. And it is 30 years later. Mike has made these calls. These adults have returned, all except for Stan. And I believe, if I remember correctly, on the way this was done in the miniseries, this is the way the first night ended. Stan, as an adult, he just can't deal with going back. They've all promised to, and whether they want to or not, they're going back to Deary to try to help get rid of Pennywise. But Stan can't handle it, and he ends up committing suicide. And the rest of them return, but Stan commits suicide. He slits his wrists in the bathtub, I believe. And I think that's how part one ended, if I remember correctly, back in the day. um, Now that the group is adults and they get together, they're trying to have dinner one night and just kind of enjoy themselves a little bit before embarking on this. And for a little while, they're having a good time. But then Pennywise begins to torment them as adults as well. And you have gotten scenes as each one of them is arriving to get together, where Pennywise is starting to bother each one of them. They think they're seeing him again, and they're hearing his voice and that kind of thing. So they're already struggling a little bit. And now there's a scene there at the dinner table where he starts to mess with them, and they have these eggs, and each one of their eggs cracks open, and there's like a, I don't know. I feel like there's an eyeball in one. One seems to have a snail or something in it. All kinds of different things, and it just freaking them out. And it's a little disturbing. I think, as far as the special effects and that kind of thing, for the most part, hold up pretty well. There are a few things that don't hold up quite as well. This scene, I thought, was one of them. It doesn't look quite as good as I remember. But again, it's just a couple of things here that don't hold up as well. The rest of it still looks great, in my opinion, to this day. So, yeah, but we do get a lot of that. Um, Pennywise also ends up helping Henry Bowers escape this institution. The group does learn about Stan's suicide, and of course, they're all devastated by that as well. But Bowers, we learn, had ended up confessing to the murders of his friends, even though it wasn't him that did it. He had just lost it and confessed to something that he didn't do. And now Pennywise ends up helping him get out of this institution, and wants him to basically, kill the Lucky Seven, or Lucky Six now, I guess is what's left of them, but he's wanting to use Bowers. There is a scene later where Bowers does attack Mike and stab him, but then, as I believe it's Ben and Eddie show up and are trying to rescue Mike and pull Bowers off of him, Bowers ends up fatally stabbing himself, and he dies. Mike ends up in the hospital, and so then They talk with Mike. They realize they've got to go back to the sewers. Mike is can't go with them, so they're now not only are they without Stan, but they are also without Mike. And the remaining five go into the sewers to confront and battle Pennywise one more time. Um, Earlier, when I was talking about the critics' consensus, it mentions an uneven second half. I really don't know what exactly they mean by uneven. I will say that as I was watching the second half of this again last night, I did find myself thinking that I enjoyed the first half a little more, um, but still nothing against the second half. I think it's still outstanding. First half may be a little more entertaining, but I still think the second half is really good. So I'm not exactly sure what the critics meant by that. Um, as the gang is into the sewers now, it is no longer Pennywise the clown. He now reveals his true form, which apparently is a giant spider. The spider is one of the things that does not look good. Watching this last night and being impressed with so many of the things that I saw, minus a few things here and there, seeing the spider, I'm like, okay, this particular thing does not hold up as well. But I mean, it's fine. It's a very had the rest of the movie not been as good, it probably would have bothered me more because I really don't think this looks good at all, to be completely honest with you. But the rest of the movie is just so good that I was able to kind of overlook that last night. And so they end up, again, trying to use their imaginations, trying to battle this spider. Eddie, unfortunately, ends up getting, he's trying to once again say that his inhaler has battery acid in it, but this time the spider is able to kind of snatch him up, and Eddie ends up getting killed. And so now we're down to four. Excuse me. So we have Bill, we have Ben, we have Richie, and we have Beverly. But the remaining four are once again able to injure the spider, with again Beverly using the slingshot method, and then as the spider is down, they basically attack it, and the four of them are able to kill this spider. And then we get some more narration from Mike. Now, one thing that I missed, I got ahead of myself and missed. Bill's wife arrives to check on Bill during all of this, and she is, as I said, played by Olivia Hussey. Um, she also gives a pretty good performance. Her character's awkward, but I don't think it's a bad performance by her. I think it's just the way her character is written. Pennywise ends up capturing her and has also got her there hostage. She's held in this giant spider web. And once they are able to kill it, then Bill gets his wife, but she seems to be stuck in this catatonic phase. As I said, after they kill the spider, Mike then begins to kind of give a commentary on what happened from there. He mentions that Beverly and Ben left together and ended up getting married. We do see throughout the film where, as a child, Ben's character had a crush on Beverly, but he believed that she had a crush on Bill. So we kind of see that go on when they're kids. And so now that they're adults, Beverly and Ben end up getting together and going off and getting married. We see that Richie ends up, he's kind of the comedian of the group we see throughout the film, and we find out that he gets cast in a movie. And Bill, he and his wife are about to leave Derry and return home, and he decides to take her for a ride on a bicycle that he had as a child. And we do see some scenes involving this bicycle, primarily between Bill and Mike when they were kids, that they played with this bicycle a lot. And so Bill puts his wife on the bicycle and begins to ride it around, and in doing so, she comes to from this catatonic phase, and they are able to leave together and be happy as well. And Mike mentions that now that this is all finally over, he may end up finally leaving Derry as well. And that's it from 1990. Again, I don't want to just continuously repeat myself, but I think this movie is exceptional. I think that the again, the cast does a great job. The story is very, very good. I'm a Stephen King fan anyway. I'll be completely honest. I have never read this book. I've read a lot of Stephen King's books. This one is massive, and I have never read it, but I really want to. I've always wanted to. I want to even more now after watching this movie again last night. But I really like this story. I think it's exceptional. Again, the cast does an amazing job, especially Tim Curry as Pennywise. Just such an incredible performance by him. And again, to be made in 1990 and to be a TV movie, I still think for the most part, everything holds up really well, with the exception of a few things here and there in the giant spider, which is bad, but the rest of it holds up so well. Um, I really enjoyed watching this last night. Again, the runtime is over 3 hours. Um, yes, it felt long. Yes, it felt like I had been watching it for a very long time. About that halfway point, I did pause it to kind of get up and stretch a little bit, and step outside for a minute and kind of regroup. But once I plugged back in, I was right back in, and um, I think the pacing is good. It doesn't feel like an over 3 hour film when you're watching it. I didn't feel like I was watching two parts of a miniseries. I felt like I was watching one movie, and yeah, it was a little bit longer, but it was fine because it was so entertaining and so good. So I think it's paced very well. Also, um, when I got ready to watch this movie, I had no idea exactly what I would rate this. Um, Pennywise, I've talked with this about several people. He's considered such a horror icon, and for me, for the longest time, um, well, yes, I get it. Pennywise is an icon, but he just wasn't as big to me as like a Freddy, a Michael, a Jason, a Chucky. He just wasn't on that level. And having seen, and again, I don't dislike the newer It films. So let me make sure that people don't think I just don't like those. Um, but having seen those, even though Bill Skarsgård does a great job, and those are good films, I'm like, yeah, see, Pennywise, I mean, he's fine, but he just doesn't belong on the level as these other characters. But after rewatching this last night, I'm like, maybe he does, because of Tim Curry's performance. I mean, it's just so. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's just so good. But before I watched it, feeling like Pennywise was again an icon, but not quite at that level, I wasn't sure where my rating was going to come up. I knew it was long. Um, I guess I had forgotten how good Tim Curry's performance was. I don't know, but I figured I'll watch this. I'll enjoy it. I'm sure I'll still like the movie, and I'll probably come in somewhere around a 7. As far as my rating, after watching this last night, it's so much better than that. For me, it from 1990 on my scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say this movie is a 9 out of 10. I think this is such an outstanding movie. Um, I might would go a little higher if it wasn't for that spider and just the way a few things look. But again, overall, I think it holds up so well. So that's my opinion on it from 1990. 9 out of 10. Now I want to know what you think. Um, I'm sure you've probably seen this film. If you haven't, please go check it out. But let me know what you think of the original It, and let me know what you think of the original Pennywise. Do you like Tim Curry's performance better, or are you on the Bill Skarsgård side of things? I want to know your opinion of what's the better Pennywise, and your opinion of this film in general. Um, yeah, so interact with me. I love that interaction. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button today on the video. Let me know you're watching. Leave me some comments and let me know what you think about this movie and about what you think about my channel in general. If you don't follow me on social media, please do so. I'm on pretty much everything out there: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X. You can find me just by looking for Sean's Horror Corner. Um, so yeah, follow me on social media. I do try to follow back as much as possible. I put videos up every Monday and Thursday, and I try to post links on those days. So feel free to share those links and help me continue to promote this and get this channel out there. Again, thank you to those of you who have subscribed. Thank you to those of you who are about to subscribe after watching this video. And yeah, I will be back in a few days. Um, I believe the next episode, I don't have my schedule right here in front of me. Up, I do. Bear with me. I didn't think I brought it in here. I had originally planned something else, but just due to kind of a recording thing, I've moved some things around a little bit. So I think I'm going to double check that right now. Yeah, my next episode, I'm going to be joined by my friends Brendan and Sam at Our Life in Horror, and we are going to be talking about Hatchet 2. Um, here a while back. They joined me and we talked about the first Hatchet. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch that video. And yeah, we're going to be getting together here in just the next couple of days and record. And on Hatchet 2. So, yeah, that's my next episode coming up. And I will mention as well, because one last thing I promise, my friend Aaron from A&B Horror Movies was going to be on this episode with me. He and I both just had so much going on schedule-wise that we just weren't able to get together to record. So he is going to be back on my channel in the near future to talk about something else. So, yeah, Aaron, he'll be back. Brendan and Sam, like I said, with me next time as we talk about Hatchet 2. So again, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, like, share, follow, all that stuff. I'll see you soon.